Now let's talk about some FAQs, what people always ask. Can we use manure water in the pipe to recharge? You can. The only difference is that you have to filter it. It doesn't have to be filtered as much as drip systems have, but it still has to be filtered to get some of the large particulates out of it. Do the roots get into the pipe? No. The pipe is so far below the surface that roots typically don't go down to that location, which is in the middle of the service row. It's not next to the trees, but in the middle of the service row. So the roots will go down to the moisture plume where there's an ideal of oxygen and water, but they'll stay away from the pipe itself because that center channel is fully saturated. It's an anaerobic condition, so plants will stay away from that non-oxygen area. Can I use it with existing trees or only new plantings? It can be used for both. So we emphasize that it's perfect for existing trees, and we trench up exactly in the middle of that service row and put the pipe in. For new plantings, we're going to have to use drip lines for the first 2 years to get the root system down to where the moisture plume is, and then you wing off the trees and then they go from there. Do I put in the pipe and take out my drip on existing orchards? No, actually you're going to run both systems for about 4 months. What happens is that your typical drip lines are turned on for 72 hours and then turned off for a week, and then turned on for 72 hours and turned off for a week. With the Aquifer Pipe, you're charging the water in there. You're letting gravity flow into the center of the pipe on a daily basis, creating this moisture plume. So the plants are going to start to sense that they always have water down below instead of that feed and starve that drip is doing. Eventually those roots will come down to that lower area where the moisture plume is, and you start to turn off your drip lines and then pull them out and resell them to somebody else. What type of crops can you use it with? We're focusing on orchard crops, and that could be anywhere from your oranges to your peaches, your stone fruits to your nuts. But it can be used for alfalfa and other crops. Give us a call. We'll tell you how the install changes a bit and the dynamics of the overall operation using Aquifer Pipe. What is the product made out of? It's made out of ABS, post-industrial use, and eventually post-consumer use ABS. So it's a very durable plastic. It's very hard plastic that you use ABS glue to seal the joints so you can do different runs. It typically comes in 10-foot lengths, but we can also produce it in 20-foot lengths. It currently comes in a 6-inch diameter, and we plan on making it in a 10-inch and a 12-inch. The 10-inch and the 12-inch are really focused on areas where you're going to get the greatest groundwater recharging, and that's going to allow you to have groundwater banking credits, or at least generate groundwater banking credits. So that's why the larger diameters. Are you going to see surface water? No, the whole system is designed to feed from the pipes with a manifold on the front end, and it drops down 5 feet into the service row. Once it goes into the pipe itself, it's non-pressurized. It's just going to now allow the natural flow of the water for the full length of the pipe and then wick up into the surrounding soil. If you start adding pressure to it, you're going to start to see a bubbling where the water will actually rise to the surface and create little kind of like artesian wells. So you want to use only gravity flow. That'll prevent any surface water and any evaporation, but also allows the farm itself to continue full operations even if you're recharging the groundwater. So that's a really key factor compared to, let's say, a flood mar application where you're flooding the field and then you really can't go into the field. With the Aquifer Pipe, you can recharge any time of the year, even if you're doing some type of operations on the surface, including harvesting. How do we prevent deep percolation during the growing season? Well, during the growing season, we actually use artificial intelligence to be able to manage the moisture plume, to see how big that moisture plume gets so the plants could feed from the water plume itself and not get so much water that it's actually going over the edge of the pipe and down into the subsurface. Because that would be a bad thing, because then you're pumping more water than you actually need. What we're trying to get to is exactly what's called transpiration isolation. Only putting enough water into the field that's going to be used by the trees themselves or the plants themselves, and not using any environmental leakage to evaporation or deep percolation. So it's really a focus, give the plants what they need, no more, no less. How do you know how much water you've added to the groundwater? Well, in the first few years, we're going to be able to measure eventually the transpiration isolation, just only giving the trees enough water during the growing season. Once we understand what's called that transpiration isolation, anything above that water amount is going to end up down into the groundwater. So if there's a rain event in the middle of, let's say, March, we'll be able to know that in typical March, your trees are going to need this much water from just the transpiration needs. Anything excess that would be actually going down to the groundwater. But then we also measure how much water is coming into the pipes. So it's a constant meter flowing of how much water is being distributed into the infrastructure itself. Will we cut into the tree roots? No, it's actually in the middle of the service row. So most of the tree roots don't reach out to that center area, and whichever ones do, they're very small. So as we dig down deep in the center of the service row, we're going down 5 feet and placing the pipe itself. Then when we backfill it with native soil, it'll start to create that moisture plume, and then the trees will start to migrate towards that moisture plume. Now remember, we're only doing every other service row unless we find that the agricultural land has great percolation capabilities, and then we'll do every row so that we can get the maximum water making credits. How long has Aquifer Pipe been around? Aquifer Pipe has been around for 4 years actually. We started in the urban areas, taking gray water from your showers and your lawn and using that water to irrigate your lawns and your landscapes. It's now available on Lowe's.com if you wanted to buy it directly. But the idea was that we were doing so well with being able to cut the water consumption in urban areas and show that we can keep the surface dry, that a farmer asked us, hey, can I use this for my farm? So we said, yeah. And so we actually designed a 6-inch version and started to introduce that into orchards.